episode of Street Scene Power Hour. I am your host, Greg Roten, and I have a couple other hosts here with John Lesaganich and Rick Guerrera. We welcome you to listen to us rant and rave about absolutely nothing. It's kind of like Seinfeld. So,
a show about nothing.
Yeah, a show about nothing. So, first I want to get out of the way. We want to welcome Keith Zibreg, and he is the master at mini bikes and cars and everything else. So he's a little bit of knowledge of everything, but there's a lot of stuff we don't talk about. So
I think we got to wake him up there. He's like really relaxed there.
Have a beer.
Usually when you come on the show, you're real nervous and everything.
I'm here.
Okay. Well, you know what, Rick, you wanted to mention something before we get started on some clerical work.
We lost a good friend, a street scene friend today, this past Friday. His name was Vic Veltri. Vic's been on the show a couple times. Vic had first time we had him on, he had a 48 Anglia Poplar, and he had it built to the T, and he loved building cars. And
that was the yellow. Was it the yellow truck, or is not?
No. That's next.
Okay.
And then he built his wife a what was it called? A Thames, Thames. It was like what was it, like a station wagon for the Anglia? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was like that. It was a Thames. It was a Ford. Those are Ford Anglias and Ford Thames, English versions of them. And then the last time we had him on in 8 years ago at, I think it was a 2016 Father's Day show. He started out the show. He had a 51 Ford Pug. CEO was this cab over engine. Cab over engine. Yeah, it was a Ford Pug. He had a big 454 in that baby, and it was a monster. It was a monster. Vic's been having troubles now for the past couple of years. He died on Friday at 78 years old, and tomorrow would have been his birthday. He would have been 79 years old. I went to his calling hours today, and it wasn't good.
Well, it hits you hard, but we want to wish Vic's family the best.
His wife runs that Angels. What is it called? Oh boy, I can't think of it now. I'm all screwed up here.
The caregivers?
The
caregivers or no?
The restaurant in Girard there.
Oh,
I'll think of it.
Yep.
And gosh, I'm sorry. I'm
yep. Well, we want to wish them the best. With our condolences from Street Scene, from everybody here. Yeah. Another thing is that we should mention, not on a downer note, but 2 months. From this is September, December is our Street Scene month, and what do I say every year, Rick and John? Watch the episodes, because there are a ton of people that have passed. Vic Veltri, we had his yellow truck. We had that as a
yellow Ford Pug. Pug
we had that as a feature car for the Street Scene Car and Custom Bike Show. Oh God, it was 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe
8 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had them, and we had him on, but we've also had a lot of other people on that have passed on, and they loved cars too. So what a better way to have a legacy is to be on this show with your passion. So,
we lost Frank Draskovic too this year. And Frank's been on our show a couple of times too. And he had, I think it was a 68. What do you got, Keith?
68 Barracuda.
Barracuda.
Oh, yeah, it was a maroon. Yeah, it was a maroon color.
It was a feature car that we lost him this year. He was like,
you know what, you guys, we always bring up the guys that we lose and all that, because let's face it, a lot of guys in this hobby is, we're up in age. I mean, we're older, but you know what?
You guys are older. Me and Keith are young.
Yeah, well, you young guys. But not only is it a legacy from being on the show, but it just shows, hey, they enjoyed life.
Sure.
They did what they wanted to do. You start mentioning the cars that he built. Come on now.
He loved building. He loved building the cars more than anything.
What's something to leave behind versus somebody sitting at the local bar downing some beers.
Do you realize that these cars that they're like Vic built, has outlived him. And a lot of these other cars have outbuilt, and they've gone to new caretakers. They're not owners. Right. They pick us as caretakers. Yeah, it sounds psychotic.
But those guys have that have their touch on that car.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's going down the street. That's a pretty cool thing. That's a pretty cool thing to be remembered by.
We'll all be there at one point. So hopefully the cars will live longer than us. Yeah.
You always want that younger generation, though, to jump into.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you want that younger generation. It could be son, a daughter, or, you know, a relative. Because I look at a lot of my stuff. I don't have no children. And I look at a lot of my stuff. I buy original stuff. I'll do some work to it, and I move on. I change inventory a lot for someone else to enjoy, because who knows, my stuff might end up at the garbage if something happens to me. You know,
that's something we've all talked about is, you know, we get the generation going. But where is the, you know, we have the Model Ts, which are huge. My dad wanted a Model T again. He used to drive it. He wanted a Packard, you know, he wanted that. And it moved into the muscle car era. Everybody, you know, I'm a muscle car guy, but now it's into the tuners. It's into the later models. Where are the older models are going to go? You know, we don't know. They might say, hey, they're not worth crap, or our lovely government might say something and trash them all. But
no, that's not going to happen. That would never happen. Car people would stand up and go crazy.
Yes, they would. So
we would revolt.
But, you know, Keith is like John. So John flips cars every 5 minutes. Or 6 on a good day.
Maybe 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Hold on. I got a call on a car here. I'll be right.
Yeah, I knew it. So Keith is like that. He'll get them, and he gets them meticulous restored. So, you know, we're gonna top on Keith just a minute here. I do want to mention a couple things. Me and Rick and John was there as well. Went up to the Geneva bug infestation.
Oh, it was
Geneva,
bug
Ohio.
Infested, all right.
It was bug infested. Rick was whining like a little 2-year-old the whole time that he got bee stung.
I got stung as soon as I got there. The darn bee was in there.
I know. We didn't even walk in, and the bee stung him.
It was
and
in my shirt.
Stuck him in the shirt. So,
yeah.
But it was a great show. They had a threat of rain, so there was not a lot of turnout. But some of the cars up there were nice. So cool, you know. Nice. So we'll have that show edited probably in a couple weeks here for you to enjoy. That was our last show for the season.
VW people are very creative, you know that. Some of the stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Rick. You know, Greg and I, VW guys. I don't have a VW. It's been some time. I got a line on a couple. There will be one in the back. It's been some time.
It's been like 2 weeks. He says it's been some time.
There'll be one in the back garage. But the unique thing about the VW group, and Rick, you just said it now, and we pointed out when we were there. You know, when you see a Chevelle SS or you know, a Firebird or a Camaro, that's what it is. It's a Camaro, it's a Firebird, it's a Chevelle, it's a Torino, it's a Mustang. That's what they are. Beautiful cars, great, beautiful cars. You see a Volkswagen, you can see the same year Volkswagen, and it'll be 4 different models, what they did to it. From a bug, from a sandrail, from a Volksrad.
Yeah, we interviewed a couple of those. Yeah,
it's the same, you know, 69, 70 Beetle. It's just somebody looked at it and said, "Here's what I want to do to it." I love that aspect.
How about a Ferrari?
And then there's a Ferrari.
We'll leave that to you. Have to watch the episode to see what that was, because
great show.
We'll just leave it at that. Also, off topic of cars and bikes. As you know, maybe people don't know, this is not the only thing I do here at Armstrong. Maybe people think that, and I don't care, but it's not. So, you know, I do this show, have 4 or 5 other different TV shows, plus I'm the marketing manager. So I do all the marketing here in the Mahoning Valley for Armstrong. And I have to mention, this month is September, and it's our Revenge Hunger Month. So that means we're taking non-perishable food and monetary donations right here at the North Lima office on 9328 Woodworth Road. Please go through your cabinets, drop some stuff off. I take it all to Second Harvest Food Bank and Youngstown Community Food Center. That all goes, every penny, everything goes directly to them. The other places you can drop off your food and monetary donations is Sparkle Market on Western Reserve in Poland, Columbiana, Salem, Niles, and Cornersburg. So, and also if you go to the Davis Family YMCA, we have a box out there. You can make donations there. The new grocery outlet in Boardman is also taking donations, so you can stop there, get some groceries, check out the new store, and put a couple cans in that or some.
Where's all the food
donations.
go at, Greg?
Youngstown Cycle Supply. Why do I have that on my mind? No,
well, I can tell you why I have it on my mind, but go ahead.
Youngstown Community. I don't want to hear. Youngstown Community Food Center and Second Harvest Food Bank. We also have. And if you'd like to get involved and do a food drive, bike run, raise money or anything, I'm up for it. Armstrong Street Scene at gmail.com, or you can give me a call here at the North Lima office. Just call the main number, ask for Greg Roten, and they'll get you through because we really need help. It's so hard. I hate to rant on this, but every year it gets harder to get volunteers and people to help and people to donate. It goes down every year while our food needs go up every year because the food prices are terrible. So if you're interested, please stop by the North Lima office. And I'm here at the office. We do the show via Zoom, but everything, I'm here. So I'm here at the office doing everything else like that. So
hey, Greg made 21 News this week.
Oh, I didn't know when that was on. So.
Oh yeah, I saw it a couple of times. Yep.
Oh, okay. So they 21. They're doing every year. They do. This is Wipeout Hunger Month. So nationally, so they do that, and every year they call upon some businesses and that actually jump on board with this. So we had talk with them. I'm glad it's on the air. Hopefully we get some people bringing in some food.
How many years has Armstrong been doing this now?
Since 2010. Okay. So we've had a Breaking Bread campaign, which runs all year. And you can drop off food and we take it right out there. But Avenge Hunger has been happening. This is our sixth year for that. So just wanted to put that note out, get bugs in the ear to donate your food, clean out your cabinets, get some non-perishable donations and some monetary donations here at the office.
If you get any good steaks, just donate them to me,
That is a perishable item. The only and beer too.
Greg, I want to point out that that doesn't mean that if you can't finish that Big Mac, you don't drop it off.
No,
please don't. We've had people drop a fruit and oh God, it stays there. A couple of weeks, and it's like, the hell's that smell in the office? And it's like, oh my God, it's fruit. It's
you
food,
just want canned stuff and stuff like that.
Canned stuff, spaghetti. It's not going to go bad.
All right.
So, other than that, we're set to go here. So, John, you want to add anything before we dive right into
the show of Geneva was good, and as you mentioned, the weather was somewhat threatening, so the crowd wasn't as big, but it was cool. It went back. We had some. Not only did we have good cars, and this is why you got to watch the show. We had some great hippies up there.
Oh yes,
that was the motivation. Yeah. It was like hippie. Yeah. It was a hippie themed. Yeah. So I tell you, I can't tell you how many bell-bottom pants I saw and the long hair hippie. It was so cool. It's like, wow.
I grew up in that era.
I know.
I just can't remember it. That's all.
Hey, I spent 1969 in L.A.
Oh, wow.
what I was doing. But it was and I've said this before, and we love our muscle cars. We love cars. I love my tuner cars. And you go to those shows and they're great, and guys have beautiful cars that they built and they show and they're proud of and they shine. Rick's the type of guy that his car got to shine and be clean and all that. Gotta shine. Then there's other guys that like
never shiny enough.
See? Yeah.
Just wipe that metal down with some freaking WD-40 that happened up there. So
I'm going to wet sand. My car's going to get wet sanded here real soon, so it's really going to shine.
Dude,
you go to the Volkswagen show, and these people, everybody got a dog. There's tons of dogs. Everybody's laid back. The bell bottoms were there. It was just a great show, and plus, so plan it for next year, and then watch our show.
And it's right next to the lake. You can throw a stone in the lake. Yeah,
I left the show and went down to the Strip. And to leave on the lake is the same it was in 1961.
And you know what? It's right at the park there. So you go to the show, you look at the lake, and it's perfect. So it's a show that you want to watch soon on Armstrong Street Scene, but it's also a show you want to go visit in the near future because it's well worth it. I mean, it's not only VWs, it's anything German.
German.
So
hey,
you're looking at BMW, you're looking at Audi.
Someone snuck a Subaru in there. You know that?
Yeah.
I don't know how he got in there. It was cool as hell, though, but it was really nice.
Look at the VW that came in with the big 350 with the twin 650s on top and the blower and everything.
Can you imagine a blower in a 2,000-pound car?
I don't know how he put those tires on it, though. My God.
A blown LS engine.
Yeah.
Okay. A blown LS engine. Can you imagine how fast that thing would go? You couldn't keep that on the road. There's no way. What was that, a 454
pumped up to what? 467 or something?
Yeah, it was a 468. So it was a 454. It was stroked and punched out a little bit more.
I've seen it around. But anyway, getting back to me, that's all. No car in the back, cruising in the vet a couple times. And like Greg, I was talking to you up the show, got a lead on a bug. I got to look at it. Actually, in my full-time career, been fairly busy. And so that kind of slowed things down. And I hate the fact that every day it gets darker sooner.
Oh, gosh.
No.
Yeah.
Stand it.
8 o'clock, it's dark right now.
And you know what sucks is it's the last 2 mornings you've gotten up and it's like 45 degrees. I'm going, I can't do this anymore.
I get up at 6 o'clock to go to work, you know.
But anyway,
it's dark,
Yeah, I'm here, and I'll be looking for some more bugs, and got some questions for our guests. Met them at a couple shows. We got to be talking, and we share a lot. And not to
John,
lead into
hey, John.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is you buy and you flip cars. Yeah. One of the big reasons I got into mini bikes and dirt bikes, I'm very much into vintage motocross bikes, is every time I buy a car, I tell my wife, I'll never sell this. I'll never sell it.
Sound like Greg.
Year and a half later, I'm trading it or selling it and getting something else. And I say the same thing. And she, after about 10 years, she goes, whatever. Okay. Yeah. So that and it's just harder to store all the cars. And, you know, I'm in what we call right now, this garage, we call it the boys club. And she visits maybe once a year out here. And
it sounds like my wife too.
Know if I have 15 bikes in here or 30 bikes, and she doesn't care. She does. You know, you're not changing titles. And
perfect wife.
But
well, you know what's interesting is when you said, you know, your wife doesn't know. Not too long ago, I was done working on a car in the back garage, and I think it was maybe a year ago. I was taking it out to the swap meet to flip it, and this is, how about this? My wife says, "Hey, where'd you get that?" Mm-hmm. And so she doesn't know what ends up in the back garage. But no, I just like you just said, and I really like the trade cash deals better. The you know, rather than the cash write up, because all my ads are, you know, I accept partial trades. So let's say I got a car and I'm selling for 15 grand, and the guy got a car he knows is worth 7. Your car an 8. You know, how about that? Yeah. And they don't have 7 in it, so they're you know, everybody wins on that deal, and I got something else in that back garage to play with.
And something you wanted, and something he wanted.
Yeah, it works out. But once we get right to you as a guest, and Rick will do or Greg will do the introduction, and I see the mini bikes back there and the dirt bikes, that's almost where my motorhead started with those things back there. That's where it began, you know. And that's why my dad, when he went out to cut the grass and seen the engine off the lawnmower, knew that something
been there,
right.
Done that.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what's going on with me.
Well, our guest is Keith Zibreg. He is he reeled me in years ago. He was at one of our car shows, and we interviewed Keith a couple times. Yeah. We interviewed Keith a couple times. He always had a different car, so it's like, okay, reeled us in. Then he started bringing these mini bikes, and it's like, you know,
I don't remember interviewing him. What did you have, Keith, when we interviewed you?
The first time I started going to your shows when you were at Shepherd Storage.
Yep.
Okay. The first car I took there, I believe it was a 30 Monterey Ford. I forgot to add that one in the list.
Okay.
30 Model A Ford. I think I was interviewed for that. I was interviewed with my 37 Ford Coupe, which was a very nice all black car, street rod, flames that Guy Shively did in front of it. Gorgeous. Yeah. And that was on Shepherd Storage.
Yeah, that was in the early days of the Street Team Car and Custom Bike Show. Yeah. But, you know, we interviewed Keith a couple times and stopped out of his shop right here, you know, his man cave, and he's always got something new. And, you know, I kind of, we all started off with mini bikes and little engines, lawnmowers. I remember tearing the lawnmower engines apart, Dad getting all upset, and I put it back together. But you know what, I have, and what really struck me, and I wanted to get Keith on, was I have 2 Muskin Dune Cats. Look them up on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm restoring one.
I've never heard of them before, but
Muskin, yeah, it was a kid's toy. I mean, back they only made it 72, 3, and 4. They only made them 3 years.
Yeah.
It looks like a little mini dune buggy.
Yep. It's really a mini dune. John, I'll show you a picture. I've got restored one back to original. I'm sort of working on another one. It's going to be a little bit custom because it was so beat up. But they know I bought it, bought these both, each of them for $100, and they're going for $3,000 now.
Oh,
I mean, it's
investment.
Yeah, it's and I love them. My buddy had one, and when I was a kid, we rode it around. I was hooked on it. I always wanted one, and you never grow up. We're men. We don't grow up. We just have to get what we wanted as a kid.
I hope not.
No.
Yeah, we just get old.
Yeah, we get old.
We just get old.
Up here does not grow up very much. So we still play the pranks on each other, tripping and giving us flat tires with shoes and, all sorts of kiddie
How's that
stuff.
saying go? The difference between men and boys is the price of their toys.
Yes, and whoever dies with the most toys wins.
That's it.
So I'm trying. So, I just, real quick, Keith works at a place that rents heavy equipment, and he's kind of my sales rep for that because I rented a skid steer from
probably
him.
in the back. I gave it away.
No, I don't see it, so I didn't give it away.
Oh.
But if you want to give it away, you're more than welcome to.
He probably destroyed it, didn't he, Keith? He said that was the first time he ever drove one of those dozers.
But anyway, I cleared an acre of land with it, and guess what I'm putting up in that acre of land? 2 portable garages. Because I'm out of room. I have this huge 30 by 40 garage in the back, an attached garage. I'm out of room. So it's the story of a car guy's life. You're out of room. But
you got that right. Whatever you
keeps you out of trouble too.
Yeah. Yeah, I did take advantage of that a little bit too much over the weekends and put 14 hours on it because I was having so much fun because the damn thing was air conditioned. It had a stereo in it, plugged my cell phone in. It was, and a windshield wiper if it rained. I'm like, I could go anywhere with this thing. Right. But yeah, it ended up charging me more, but that's okay. That was fine. But Keith, I want to touch on, we want to start from the beginning. We like to dive into this. How did you get interested in anything with an engine on it?
Oh, boy. Well, with an engine on it, I bought it. My dad helped me buy my first car, believe it or not, when I was 12 years old.
12 years old?
Wow.
A 41 Chrysler Windsor.
Oh, that's a big beast, huh?
4-door. I sanded and worked on one rear fender for like 2 years.
Had to get it perfect.
It didn't run when I got it. It didn't run when I sold it. And then my car, I got my license. I had it for about 4 years. I got my license, and my first car was a 68 GTO.
Oh, wow.
Nice,
68 GTO. That's a heck of a first car, though.
Yeah.
God.
So
and
Keith,
I paid $300 for it.
Yeah. How did you transform into because when I first met you, I met you with the mini bikes and the dirt bikes. And I understand you gave us a brief description in the beginning, but you're more focusing in on the 2 wheels now, right?
Yes. I mean, I started probably when I was young riding. I never had a mini bike as a kid.
That's where it
You
starts.
You were deprived. You were
I know. I never had a
kid.
dune cat when I was a kid either, and that's why I have two of them now.
Right. I never had a mini bike, but my first bike, my dad got me for Christmas. It was a 1971 Yamaha Mini Enduro, which you consider a mini cycle, okay, a 60cc. And that's where it all started with me. And then, we'll go to campgrounds and people had mini bikes and popular bike or the Honda
Honda 50, yeah.
Okay, on the mini trails. And so it went from that. I went from that 60 to I got a Suzuki TM75. And then I went from a 75 to a Yamaha YZ250. I jumped up and just rode, nothing crazy. I never rode motocross. Where I used to live, I'm originally from Pittsburgh.
That's fun. I did motocross.
Born and raised there. I only moved to the Boardman area back in 1997 and didn't have any bikes at that time. But I always loved mini. I mean, I remember we all looked through the catalogs, at Christmas time, the Sears catalogs are always selling mini bikes, and go-karts and things like that. But the community in mini bikes, it is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Some guys, and Greg, I'll just correct you on one thing, is I don't really buy total projects that need restored. What's strange about a lot of vintage mini bikes, you want to try to get something that's an original as possible because major components are usually missing out. And it's weird things. It could be a gas tank. It could what is very common is what's called clutch covers. The first time a kid would spin the chain or something off it, they'd be removed, discarded. And some of those pieces, when guys are trying to restore them, a clutch cover might be $1,000 and the bike's only worth $800.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeez.
Okay. So it's a real strange thing to be into. Even in vintage dirt bikes, certain parts are very, very hard to come by. One thing on bikes is on dirt bikes, it's called a silencer. The pipe comes up and it usually has a end on it, the silencer. Well, the first time somebody laid it down or raced motocross, they broke it, bent it, discarded it. Those things are golden.
Yeah.
Kickstands on vintage dirt bikes, golden. It's a strange, but I try not to buy project or just a frame and then try to build, and get parts. I'm in a community where, nationwide, really, that I can obtain parts, but it'll take you months or years to obtain some parts. And guys have it; they know it's valuable. You're going to pay,
Yeah. So some of these, but what's your limit? I mean, you've had some good. I'm going to go through some pictures here while we're talking, just so the audience can see some.
Stop you too?
No, go ahead. We'll just keep on talking. What's your limit on, if you get a bike, you look at it, it's like, this thing's just trash. It's a parts bike. Now, What's your limit? What do you look for in one of these mini bikes? Because, there's all sorts of people, enthusiasts and this is one area that we really don't hear about. And you're the expert on this one because you've had some amazing mini bikes and I can't even explain it.
Well, there's, I don't know if you're able to pick this one up on my left shoulder. This was made by Muskin Cat. And Muskin Cat.
The chopper.
Their history is
Muskin. I mean, it's a Muskin Dune cat too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Muskin Cat, that company was a pool chemical company.
Wow.
And in the early to mid 60s, a lot of companies jumped on the mini bike bandwagon. And I got a good trivia question for you, Greg. But an example is right next to me is Cat started making mini bikes. This company started making mini bikes, and they made this particular one. It's a 1972. It's 100% original, unrestored. It's a chopper.
There's a chopper, right? Yes,
they made it in 1972, and it was marketed through JCPenney.
Oh,
Okay. Only sold through JCPenney. And a lot of companies back then tried to do this. And a lot of mini bike companies are regionalized, which out on the West Coast, John, you were out in LA, but popular bikes out there are Steens, Bonanza. Bonanza mini bikes are one of the most desirable bikes. Matter of fact, a lot of their bikes came with Hodaka 100cc two-stroke engines on them, which you find them, they are big money. And in Ohio, the big names in Ohio are Rupp and Speedway.
Okay. Yep. Both of them.
Yep. Both out of Mansfield. I'm real close with a guy in Mansfield. His dad used to work for Rupp in the offices, and he took on that tradition, and he's a phenomenal restorer of old Rupps and wires parts, and very good source with me. I had a lot of, probably had about 15 Rupps, down to one. Presently,
So Keith, let me ask you. You mentioned all these factory-made mini bikes, but when I grew up, if your dad or somebody worked down at the mill, they brought home the mini bike frame. That's where you had it made, and then you would put it together. Do those homemade mini bikes carry any value anymore, or no?
Well, it's hard to identify. Okay, that's the main thing. Which most of the companies that were marketing mini bikes at the time, they always had the mail order ones where you could buy the plans. And they'll send you the frame and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
$59.95, and you got a mini bike.
That was it.
Yeah, and that's very. And Greg, here's this trivia question. Do you know who Bruce Myers is?
Yes.
Okay.
Myers Manx.
You got it. Correct. Somebody is calling me. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, it just went. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Well, Bruce Myers made the Myers Manx, which is a dune buggy that I know you would know, being into VWs and so on and so forth. Well, he jumped on the bandwagon in the mid-'60s, and he started producing mini bikes, and they were called the Lynx. So that's a very rare, very desirable bike. I have never ran into one. I believe he was from Southern California also. And he came up with a pretty unique, he had 4 models, and he did a mail order one called a Cub, but he also did 3 other ones, and he called the model 53, 55, and a 65. And what they stood for is the 5 stood for a 5-inch wheel bike and a 3 horsepower motor.
Okay.
That was a model 53. And then he did a model 55, which is a 5-inch wheel bike with a 5 horsepower. Tecumseh usually. Yep. And then the 63 or 65 was a 6-inch wheel bike with a 5 horsepower motor.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, how do you, I'm looking at some of the mini bikes, and we grew up with mini bikes. Yep. And if I would, or someone, a novice or somebody runs into one in a barn find or something. Yep. How do you identify the manufacturers? You said there's no tags or nothing on them, is there? Yeah,
some of them are on the engine plates where you put the motor. Sometimes they're tagged there.
Okay.
On all the Rupp, there's a seat pan. They used to put a foil sticker on those. Every little bike has their own little quirk. Some of them are stamped in on the frames.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a variation. You can't. It's hard to specialize in 50 different companies, and I really enjoy the Rupps, the Speedways. In Speedway, it's a good story. Is Speedway was a spinoff from Rupp. They had some disgruntled employees, and they said, "The heck with you guys." They went across the street and they started making their own bike.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's how Speedway. And Speedway was in business for only 4 years, and when they got bought out by Fox Corporation, which is probably still around making something.
Yeah.
But Speedway, and see, that's a regional thing. Mansfield was Rupp and also Speedway.
Okay. Question, let me go through some pictures. You maybe explain some of these because, thoughts to think about when you're going on Marketplace and you're looking for bikes. We're going to get into that in a minute. What are we looking for? So we have now. I guess you guys can see this, correct?
That's a badass little bike.
Yeah. Okay. Explain what it is, because we have a lot of people downloading the podcast that can't see this.
Correct.
So
that's a 1971 Speedway Shark. They had different models. That's a Shark. It had front suspension, not rear suspension. That I bought down by Massillon, maybe, by the Canton area. I bought that from the original owner's daughter, who was cleaning out the house.
Oh boy.
Original motor, everything, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to stop the share for a minute. I'm trying to get this I can't, for some reason.
So while Greg's trying to do that, Keith, let me ask you these, and I actually had 2 of them and they were fun, so I'm not putting them down, but these, Tractor Supply, I forgot the name of the mini bikes, the big fat ones, the fat,
Coleman's?
Yeah. Yep. They're fun. They're a blast. I have a little piece of woods in my backyard. We took it and beat the heck out of it. Yep. Are they going to be, do you see maybe a valued bike down the road?
No, I personally don't. They're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, they're out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had one. I had one for about 2 years. Well, I really bought it to go to Mid-Ohio Vintage Motorcycle Days, rode it around, and then when I came back, I sold it.
Okay.
Okay. But something mass produced like that.
Yeah.
It's you can look at it the same thing with cars. Where they only made 2,000 say models of this GTO in 68, 69.
Right.
So it's a modern bike. I don't see any bikes right now very desirable as a collector item, but that could change.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'm still having trouble trying to get these photos to share, but I'm going to put.
So here's the cool thing, Keith, and I'm a quasi picker.
Yep.
A friend of mine cleared out an estate. It took us 2.5 years one time. He had 3 different locations. And it's just, I got a lot of that stuff in the back. So when you're talking about these parts, my mind's thinking, man, I'm going to start looking for these parts. And do you think, and I believe, there's some of these mini bikes in these back barns and garages that people just pushed back there and never touched, right?
That's where I find some stuff.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that.
A lot of guys find it that way. And John, call me. I'm not going to put you together. I mean, if it's something valuable, I'll tell you. If it's something that's junk, I'll tell you. And it's something like gas tanks are golden. Guys take gas tanks off. They'll put them in the rafters. You don't know.
Right.
There's a very desirable bike there.
A Coyote. Who made Coyote? Coyote.
Quick story on that bike. Kawasaki, great motorcycle company. Had bikes prior to this. This is a 1969. It's called a Kawasaki Coyote. And what's unique about it, there was only 400 of these made.
Oh, wow.
That's so cool. Yeah.
I acquired this about 6 months ago out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, another collector I knew. And 100% original. But that has a 2-stroke engine in it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And it only had 3 horsepower.
Yeah.
So what happened is, Dad bought this for the kid. He'd get on it, maybe put the kid on there and take it down the street. They were blowing up. And Kawasaki was getting a lot of complaints, and they said, whoa, we're done with this. That's why they only produced 400 of them. Well, in 1970, they tried the same thing. The bike looks exactly the same. It had a 4-stroke engine on it.
There you go.
bigger on the other side. It didn't sell very well. Yeah. See,
No.
I mean, that gas tank on that, big money. Clutch cover, big money. But that bike was complete. Unrestored. The seat was just about perfect. That's another thing. Seats are very desirable.
Yeah. And you know how much wear seats take, you know? So
they drive a lot too.
Yep.
So
here's the cat he was talking about earlier. If you're listening to the podcast, download the podcast, listen to it, but make sure you go to the YouTube broadcast Armstrong Neighborhood Channel, because we have shots of these rare mini bikes.
Yeah, so. This looks like a Captain America bike, man.
Yeah,
this is easy. This is an Easy Rider mini bike.
Yeah,
yeah. That was that phase. You know, probably what was that movie come out in '69, maybe
68, 69. Dennis Hopper and
several companies.
The wife and I were just talking about that, and believe me, right after that movie, it wasn't a Harley, but I had a 650 Triumph that looked just like his bike. Because I made it.
You know, what's weird is the gas tank on that. Look at the way they put it. They put it underneath there instead of on the top.
Like they bought it whole and they just dropped the engine and the tank in at once. Yeah. You know, make it easier for production.
Yeah. Keith, let me ask you and we're gonna look at some more pictures, but the Honda Trail 90s, were they considered a mini bike or no?
No, that's a small CC regular bike motorcycle. Most of them were titled and so on.
Yeah, and then they had the one that folded up even.
Oh, is
that a mini bike? I'm trying to think of the model. I don't know, but
what's considered a motorcycle? 90 and above?
I don't. I had 90s that I have, and I still have. Like I have the Speedway right next to me, a '74. It has a title, but I had Yamaha 90s that had lights. See, to make it street legal, you need lights, not necessarily turn signals, because turn signals, I don't believe, came into effect till 1974.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So
I always thought that the difference, and the difference between a mini bike, a motorcycle, a moped, and a scooter. The moped, obviously, you can pedal, thus moped. Pedal, but I always thought it was the size of the tire, and I thought once they went past 12 or 15 inches, it was considered a motorcycle. That was just.
Well, see, I had a scooter. I think that was probably only. I mean, we're talking in the '80s. It was plated. I bought it, but it probably had 12, 13-inch tires on it. Yeah. But it's a matter of, you know, what's the top speed on that? 45.
Some of those scooters are bringing a lot of money in, you know that.
The Lambrettas and Vespas.
Oh my God,
yeah.
I love those things.
I'm not into that. I'm not into that group. The Pushmans, the Lambrettas, and they're cool, but that's not my niche.
Yeah.
You know?
So Keith, let me ask you, when I was growing up and we had the bikes, and one of my favorite bikes we used to run out to Hillsville. By the quarries and all that. Yeah. One of my favorite bike was my 305 Scrambler, my Honda Scrambler. You can throw that thing in the ground, pick it up, ride it home. It broke. But you don't see many of these. A buddy of mine had a nice Ducati, an older Ducati.
Italian bike.
So if you go into the vintage enduro or dirt bikes, what's the one looked at? Suzuki, Yamaha, or what's the one that people really want?
Probably the most desirable enduros, old 70s. Probably the player in that market is Yamaha.
I had one of those Yamahas. I had a couple of them.
The 175s, the 250s, very desirable.
You get
into the 360s and things like that. I try to stay away from big bore bikes anymore, because if they're kickstart only, I have trouble starting. You know. Yeah. But enduros. I have a PE 250 here, which was made by Suzuki, and that was an enduro. Bigger bike. I mean, the gas tank on it's like 2.5 gallons. Because it was for enduro races.
Okay.
Hey Keith, I see you got a Suzuki shirt on. Are they still making Suzuki motorcycles?
Yeah. And Suzuki's getting back into motocross racing.
Because I don't see them too often on the roads anymore.
Nah. Okay, well, and see, today a lot of the bikes all look the same.
Right.
You know, it's really hard to distinguish a lot of them.
Especially, the street bikes. You know, my son's got a Ninja, and he loves it. But
Right.
you know, see, I can't decipher them apart. But again, I don't look that much, so I'm not an expert on that field. Well, I'm going to share. I'm going to share another bike here. If you can still hold on. Yep. There we go. That looks like a Rupp. Am I correct?
That's a Rupp.
And you know how I knew? You know how I knew that? It says it on the seat.
Yeah, it says it on the back. Yeah,
You're so smart, Greg.
I know.
Man, I'll tell you, hey, Greg, you know your mini bike.
I know. See?
Now, to me, looking at that's fairly close to a motorcycle look. I mean, look, it got the shock spring tires in the back. It got that's
headlight on it, tail light on it.
No turn signal. That's a 71, what's called a Rupp Roadster 2. And 71, that particular bike with Rupps, there was two very desirable bikes in 71. One was called the Black Widow, and then this Roadster 2 that came in purple, because maybe purple wasn't common. That's a very desirable bike. Most of them were red or blue, and they're the torque converter. But there's that.
Then we're gonna move on to that's the Sprint.
Yeah, that's a 1969. That's 100. All these bikes you just showed are 100% original bikes.
Wow.
This is
where do you find them at?
I got this. I made a trade for this with a collector out of like central Pennsylvania. He wanted something I had. I wanted one of his. I said I'd take that because he didn't like. If it's original, it can't have a nick on it, and that's very uncommon. That's part of the patina. This bike is 69. It's called a Rupp Sprint, 3.5 horsepower Tecumseh engine. But what's unique with this bike, on the front fender, and I didn't remove it, and that's what I say about restoring, is there's a sticker on there, and I think it's a skull with a.
Yeah, I see that on the front there. Yeah.
And I looked at it, I looked closer at it. It's a 1966 Ed Roth original sticker.
Wow.
Wow.
So I left it on there. But yeah.
Man, that's cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. That one we're looking at right now.
Yep.
It's a Speedway. It's a Speedway. Let's explain it. It's a Speedway Shark. Is that it?
Shark. Yep.
You know how I knew that? It was on the tank. Okay.
Yeah,
Very smart. Boy, you're smart.
Greg, you ought to write a book,
I'll
Greg.
tell you.
Greg, you ought to write a book, How to Identify Mini Bikes.
Well, that'd be a one-pager and a one-liner. Look on the damn bike.
You look at the thing. But anyway, let me put you on. What year would this Speedway be?
That's a 71 Speedway. What's unique is you see the clutch cover there, that chrome piece on the side? Well,
Right.
what they did is that's 1/2 of their gas tank.
I was going to say, it looks like the upper part of the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That piece alone there, if you can find an original one, it's probably $450.
So
Jeez.
here's what I was going to ask you. What's the value of that bike the way it sits?
Probably about $2,500.
Yeah.
All right. So if somebody wants to get into, really, in all honesty, a cool sport, a collector sport,
Yeah.
I mean, $2,500 is $2,500. It's money, but it ain't, it ain't going to kill you.
For a young kid, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's another thing, just another end of the passion here. And, Keith, I have to ask people, what's one bike you want to run across that you haven't seen that you absolutely have to have?
It would probably be a Bonanza called an MX bike, not a motocross bike, but they call it an MX. It has a fiberglass tank on it. It has the Hodaka 100 Ace 2-stroke engine on it. That is one of my goals, to either trade or buy or find. I will have one of those bikes.
Have you seen any lately?
Not for sale.
Okay.
How expensive are they?
Yeah,
How expensive?
I know several guys that have them. I know a guy from Pittsburgh that he has probably 50 Bonanzas.
Oh, jeez.
Every single model. you want to talk about a wealth of knowledge on one particular bike, well, two particular bikes. A good one to bring up because the car guys, everybody knows the name Mickey Thompson.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay? There's a Mickey bike out there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
If you ever look at old photos from Mickey Thompson when he was racing, he's on a mini bike. It has like mini 8-hangers on it. That bike is very, very desirable. They made 3 versions or series of them. The second one I like really enough. There was a medallion right on the neck that says Mickey bike on it and their number. 3.5 horsepower he used Briggs motor.
Oh, he's a Briggs. I was going to ask you that. What's most common on that? Briggs or Tecumseh?
Mm-hmm.
Most is Tecumseh. And there was if you have some time, I can tell you another story about a company from Michigan that was putting on Briggs and had to change to Tecumseh. But the Mickey bikes, back to the Mickey bikes, I'd love to have one of those. Okay. And this collector, that's the Bonanza guy in Pittsburgh, he's also a Mickey. I mean, he'll buy a frame that's been sitting in a field for 30 years for $1,000.
Oh, how
he has every part. He has the wheels. He had Mickey Thompson had special wheels made.
So he's just a plethora of parts too.
Parts.
Jeez.
I showed him I have a headlight for a Bonanza, and he goes, "Boy, don't get rid of that. That's probably worth $400." I'm like,
jeez.
We took it off a bike that I went a little overboard on a chopper that I had built, not restored, built, and I'm glad I saved it.
Yeah,
and didn't sell it for $10 or whatever. But
well, go ahead, Rick.
Hey, Keith, how fast do these things go?
Oh,
can you go 40, 50?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you get a Hodak on one of those Bonanzas, you'll probably be able to go 55, 60.
Wow. Wow.
It's so scary. And a lot of them bikes didn't last because you gave it to a little kid. And he was wrecking it. He was breaking his shoulder. Or, it was just chaos back then.
You mentioned Mickey Thompson. These bikes, a lot of guys refer to them as pit bikes.
Yeah, that's where you see them all the time in the pits. Yeah.
Because and one other thing I want to point out, as I'm doing the show, I'm looking over there in one of my picker collections that I don't get rid of. I have stacks of these old Popular Mechanics little magazines. I got them back to the 40s.
Oh, wow.
And every once in a while, I'll pick one up and read it. Everyone tells you how to, make money being a TV repairman. That's all.
Yeah. Well, that don't work no more.
Or how to sell shoes or whatever. It's just cool to read. But everyone will have a mini bike ad in there.
Absolutely.
Every single one.
I remember that when I grew up later. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, but I always remember the go-karts and when I was a young kid, the mini bikes, the ads were everywhere. You could build your own mini bike or buy one already built at Sears and take it home.
Sears, Montgomery Ward's,
everything.
All those companies, they had it. They all jumped on the bandwagon because there was money to be made. It was popular. It was
So couple questions, Keith. First, not a question, but a statement. So I went from the mini bikes to Honda Nows. We went down and they had a bunch of old Cushmans in the back. So we came on with 3 Cushmans that I redid, the Eagle and the Step Through and so on. And then after my dad knew that I kind of knew somewhat about engines and I was interested in it, surprise, I think it was my 15th birthday, we went to Roman's Cycle and I got my first 50cc Suzuki. Oh. And I just thought I was the coolest kid on the block. That was just cool. But you pointed out, you're trading all that. Is there a mini bike club out there?
I belong, like on Facebook, there's a lot of groups, specialized groups, like there's a Speedway group, there's a RUP group, there's a group I like, it's called Old School Mini Bikes and Go-Karts. Good information sometimes for guys. Some guy, post things for sale, ask for things. It's that. And then it's meeting people and getting into that community. It's like the car community.
Yeah.
You start talking to a guy and it's like, John, you and I spent some time at the show, and we were looking at certain bikes.
Well, you helped me judge. You helped. He was an assistant judge at our show, you guys, on the motorcycles. Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and the creativity. You look at something, it ain't original, but how creative he was to make this work and fab this, and the guys doing cars. They've been doing that since they were building Model A's. Hot rods, street rods back in the day.
Gonna let the other guys ask questions, but I think this is the one you got to tell us about that bike behind you up on the wall. That
bike behind. Well, I have a name for that bike. It's called Lipstick.
It's called what?
Lipstick.
Lipstick. Okay, that's what I thought you said. Yeah.
I got a little crazy. I went overboard on it. I took all I had was a bare frame and wheels. Basically what you could call a roller of a 1969 Bonanza chopper. That's so cool. Good friends bought several bikes off him. We trade. He's a builder in Cleveland. His name is Ed Kubians. He doesn't mind me sharing his name. He's a Ducati guy. I said, Ed, we're going to build the nicest mini bike chopper ever. And he just went absolutely crazy on it. I said, all the 69 Bonanza choppers were painted orange. Matter of fact, it was like a Hemi orange. I said, we're going to paint it white, and I'm going to do a red seat. And he goes, well, we'll paint it white. But then he scalloped. He had it scalloped. It's all paint and clear coat. That bike, I have $3,500 in the show chrome.
Oh my God! On a mini bike, yes. Show chrome's disgustingly expensive for cars, but on a mini bike,
the only thing chromed on it are the front forks, and it has a very rare Tecumseh Kickstarter on it.
Well, that's the one you had at the Boardman show, right?
Correct.
So for those listening and you're going to watch come December, you're going to watch all our car shows on there. I interviewed Keith. You'll see that bike at the Boardman show. I couldn't walk by it, and you could see it on this in the back there. And it's probably in my mind, probably the coolest mini bike I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is a beauty. I mean, I have to put kudos out to it. I had a vision. I had some input on it. I'd tell Ed, and he'd say, that's a good idea, but then he'd take it to the next level. I mean, he was getting parts like the clutch cover from Australia, and then have it hand painted. The seat was done by a guy called Phil. His name is Phil Anderson out of Columbia Station, Ohio. Anderson Interiors that does street rods and resto rods. He did the seat on it. Angel Dust painted it. They're out of Cleveland. It just went crazy. Now I have big piece of lipstick.
Do you ride it, Keith?
It's going to go to a show that it was invited to in Michigan the first of next year. There's a lot of big money collectors throughout the country that want that bike.
Yep.
They have a lot of money in it, but I'm going to take it to this show and show it to the public. Yep. It's mini bikes only, and then after that, I'll trade whatever to get out of it. It's too nice for me.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
We got a little less than a minute left. Rick,
it's a show bike.
One quick question, Rick.
No, let's go ahead. Keep going. Okay. It's interesting.
You know what? For our audience, if you're out there barn finding, shed finding, what do you look for? Real quick, Keith, what do we look for if we see a bike sitting there, a mini bike?
Look, see if the frame. Look for welds on the frame. Bent forks are very common with non-suspension bikes in the front. Okay. Motors, very important, especially Tecumsehs. Any vintage Tecumsehs in the early 70s are desirable. You buy a bike for $25, you might be able to sell the Tecumseh engine for $200, $300.
No, I have a 1971 Tecumseh engine off a lawnmower. Does that work?
Yeah,
Probably the same
It's
engine.
sitting in my shed, so I will.
Yeah. We want to thank Keith Zibreg for joining us and about mini bikes. So make sure you watch Armstrong Street Scene Power Hour. And for Rick Herrera, John Lessaganich, my name is Greg Roten. We will see
We'll see you down the road.